And main topic for today,
Yep.
the introduction of AI adoption framework series. So what we saw with Nikki is that actually as we mentioned, we've been part of multiple transformation, adoption. So we saw a lot of organizations trying to catch up. A lot of organization really wanted to get it without having a plan, without having a structure, without having, let's say, strategy built, how to do it. They just, in most cases, they really are pushed by the fear of missing out.
Yep.
So based on our recent updates, recent work that we've done, and our implementation of early implementation of Azure OpenAI, and as we said, combined with our experience of the previously cloud adoption frameworks from all three major cloud vendors, we tried to build something like initial version, something like a structured way of how you may adopt the artificial intelligence technologies in your organization and benefit from them, and not wasting your time, money, effort in things that does not worth it. So the important thing here is that keep in mind that this is initial draft. It will be developed. Things may change, as you know, all the cloud adoption frameworks, because we've been working with them. So at the beginning, they weren't cloud adoption frameworks at all. But even the ones from, let's say, 5-6 years ago, they're totally different comparing with nowadays. So this would be the same. And we'll be very happy to hear your feedback, your suggestion of improvement, your experience for the specific steps that we believe should be taken. We may miss something. This is, as we said, it's really based on our experience and with right now the AI implementations in two very large organizations and the previous experience. So in today's section, we're going to share just the high level structure, and we'll say several words for each of these. And later in the next sessions, we will deep dive in each of the topics. So let us share our screen.
I think I am. Can you? Sorry. Can you see my screen? Yeah, we were a little bit limited with screens today. Sorry for that.
Super. Okay, we can see it. So this is the structure which we believe it's let's say it would be a good start, especially, you know, it's always better to have some framework to follow comparing to not having. So I think that is already a big, let's say, improvement. So maybe we can start with, because this may look similar to the cloud adoption framework to you. I mean, and it should be similar because there's a lot of similarities, but there's also some differences. So I think it would be good to start with this.
Yeah.
And starting with the similarities, it's similar as all digital transformation, the importance of the leadership. We put it on really first step, clear step, because I remember 4 or 5 years ago, even some of the executives of the major cloud providers mentioned that the success story of each transformation is definitely starting with the leadership commitment and leadership alignment. So we saw some good, let's say, adoption, some changes starting from, let's say, bottom to the top, but this is definitely the same as previously the top-down approach, having leadership alignment as a first step is crucial for the overall success of the any digital transformation, not only the adoption. So these are pretty similar. It's the similar thing is having, let's say, centralized approach. Remember, I know some of you who joined on the sessions, but I always like to say that I'm tired to fix cloud adoptions. I still have a lot of project fixing cloud adoptions for organization, and especially for large organization. This is really, really for large organization, where there is zombies everywhere. There's things that nobody want to touch. You know, they moved the data centers to the cloud. Different units was moving, are adopting the cloud differently. So really, it's the same. It's similar that you have to have, let's say, centralized approach with some guardrails, governance, how this should be done, what should be provided, etc., etc. No difference here. Shadow AI, you know, shadow AI.
There is a thing like
it's coming, it's everywhere.
Already here.
Yeah, it's already here. Organizations, so the business is coming and say, oh, I want AI. I don't care. I don't care if IT is not ready.
I would say they don't even ask. They just go and buy stuff and just start.
Absolutely. And you see, at the end, you have large organization with tons of different products. Each of the business units buy the products from themselves, which from one side is good. The business is it's really want to move faster, and of course the business is the driver. But we really hope that cloud adoption taught IT teams that they should try to catch up. But it's hard, especially in large organization. It's very hard. So this is definitely similar. Yeah. Similar problems, similar challenges, similar solution.
Just one thing to clearly differentiate from one of the previous waves we have. This one is much more abrupt in the way it's infiltrating organizations, meaning you have to do it now. Everybody, leadership now is actually forcing this onto the organization because it's seeing how others are adopting it, and thinking about FOMO. You mentioned it earlier, and the competitive advantage compared to the cloud, where a lot of the organizations initially didn't want to do this because it was costly. They didn't have the staff, multiple reasons why you want to stay on premise, and they gradually started moving into the cloud. Here, it's you have to do it immediately, pretty much.
The bet is much, we discussed with Nikki just before, a few days before the today's session about the leadership alignment section and how we will convenient the leaders. And so we don't have to convenient. We are 2024 to convince them. We may need to convince them last year or 2022, but today we don't have to convince anyone. So this is really major differences. Nikki mentioned, we both believe that this is the biggest difference between the two, because actually the bet and missed opportunities are much higher comparing with any other transformation. And we already saw what AI can do. In all sizes and all different organizations, different verticals. So definitely with the cloud, there's the improvement for the business was non-comparable at all with the improvements and potential that AI can provide to the business. You can still run VMware, and if you have, let's say, on-prem or some of the open source project, you can still can be very efficient from business perspective. But not having AI, it's you'll not be successful at all. And to keep in mind that we are going in the, as Sam mentioned, we are going in the times where few peoples will be able to build very large organization, multi-million organization. So we are very excited, and we can be happier to see to live in these times where really, it's times of people that are willing, that love technology, that have the motivation, that want to be efficient. It's really about it's really about the efficiency here. So yeah, as we said, in the cloud you may miss this, but this time if you miss it, most probably you're not going to exist in the next. I mean, you'll follow the suggestion from one famous Bulgarian actor that if you want to have large business, you just have to. If you want to have small business, you have to buy large and just wait. So this would happen with the large organizations. And here, the importance of moving fast. Again, it's crucial. Remember the slogan. It's more important to move fast than to be big in today's days.
Especially now, yeah.
Especially now. So, yeah, the other difference is, as you see on the framework, we put it also big importance of building the team of experts of your organization before crafting your strategy, before crafting your plan, how to execute the strategy. Because in the other frameworks, there were a lot of, in the cloud adoption framework, actually the COE, first of all, it was not that clear where you have to build it. And definitely it was mentioned that first of all, you have to define your business objective, expected outcomes. Of course, you can do that on a high level, and we'll discuss this in details. But in order to do it appropriately, it's much better to have the right people. And even that we truly believe that the executive should be more like Elon Musk than with people that don't have any idea what they're building. We still believe that when the executives have a good amount of experts, they would be much more efficient of building the appropriate strategy.
And also a lot of the work forming the COE doesn't mean you have to hire all of these as external people. Actually, a lot of the bigger organizations have almost all of the necessary staff available. You just need to figure out who they are. I mean, it's not an easy task by itself, but still you do have a lot of the people that you need up front.
Yeah.
And it takes a bit of courage, I guess, just to maybe take them out of their current positions, put them in the COE.
It's always hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to do for as well.
You have to, from a leadership perspective, you really have to have some belief as well. I mean, this is not cheap by any means. The upfront cost of forming the COE,
investment is
investing in the AI capabilities so you can distribute them across the organization is deserves a clear belief within leadership, because it may fail, of course. Like any effort that's still unknown, it may fail. But the COE forming is a crucial task. It's something that. We're talking about large organizations again. The principles here will apply to smaller organizations, but in smaller organizations, it's probably easier to get some of these things in place, where the larger ones, you have to think about a lot of the kind of the moving parts, and even convincing people to use AI is a struggle.
Yeah, we'll go in a bit details soon. The other major difference that we also outlined is AI, building the AI competency and culture development within the organization, really separate and very important thing to do, even from, if possible, from day one, let's say, because again, the bet is much higher comparing with the other adoption. And when you have people prepared, people understanding of the capabilities, you'll see soon, in a few minutes, it's much easier to identify the right use cases, the possibilities for your organization. So we really believe that this should be like one of the very first initiative of having strong, for building strong capabilities in your organization, AI capabilities, and integrate them. It's very sad, but what we saw so far is none of the large organization, small organization of any size, they totally missed this opportunity. Even some large consultant companies, I'm really surprised of not paying attention to invest in the people to be able to help them to do their work more efficiently. As we said earlier, AI will make each of us much more efficient. Will make the work, the things that we have to do, much more efficient, much more faster, much better. So instead of having to pay like X amount of money to put X amount of hours effort, you will be able to do it much faster. And missing that part, we go back to the previous discussion with what will happen with the business in general, because again, 2 or 3 people can be efficient like a very large organization. Okay, so maybe we can start with the first, let's say, first step is Nikki mentioned, as we saw this multiple times. It's all about leadership alignment. It's everything starting with the leadership. So when we say leadership, we mean the people which really drive the direction of the company. So the C-level folks, they really have to want this to happen. They really have to, let's say, sit together and say, okay, we have to adopt the AI, because if we are not adopting it, we will not be competitive in the next few years. So once they agree that, okay, we have the commitment, they can, one of the first tasks is that they can create, let's say, something like a high-level vision, high-level strategy, what they would like to achieve. But they don't have to go to be very specific.
Yeah.
Right? Because they may know some of the use cases. They may saw some YouTube videos, as we're kidding with some of we already have some examples, but still they just have to know what they want to achieve.
Yeah, and from a leadership perspective, leaders are already being acknowledging the shift to AI. I mean, there's so many conferences and
yeah,
you know, where they meet other leaders and they exchange information and they say, okay, you know, our competitors just adopted AI. Right now, there is a race between different companies to officialize and say, okay, we were able to adopt AI in this way. We've published our first chatbot. We're integrating this into our products. It's a marketing thing by now for companies to say, okay, we are,
and formal.
Yeah, and also yes, but kind of the forward-thinking companies who made this change, probably who started earlier in the earlier parts of last year, and or
even last year is much better than this year.
Yeah.
You know, in the middle of last year, it was, you know, April, March, it was pretty good time.
So when other leaders see this information, we see AI being the theme on many of the kind of the worldwide conferences, the one in the World Trade Conference in Switzerland. I mean, AI is everywhere. So like we said, that we no longer, like previous waves, we no longer have to explain this to leadership. Leadership is coming back to departments and saying, let's do this now, because it seems that everybody else is doing it. We need to do it now, and we need to step on it. That's kind of the message that everybody's getting.
As we said, we don't have to convene the leaders anymore. So yeah. So this time this is easy. At this time of the
thankfully
year, thankfully this is easy. And it could be like the last train for the leaders who still believe it's a hype. And so once they have this commitment and they have some visions, what they would like to achieve, it would be also good to create some kind of a communication plan. So, for example, each of the units within the organization to be aware that there would be investment and there would be some kind of shift. There will be changes that will come, that the AI would become part of the specific team activities and work of the organization in general. And this is, again, just the initial communication plan, just to prepare the people.
Yeah.
So,
and this also comes to response to people who are already asking, internally we see in the organizations, when can I use AI? Can I use ChatGPT? Can I do that? And usually this initial message that comes from really the CTO, CEO, this level of executive staff, kind of sets the stage for the next step. So it's an important step just to make sure the company is aligned that they want to get into the usage of AI. Then usually these messages don't say, we're going to be successful, we're going to remove staff because we're implementing AI. That's what you don't want to give out as a message. You want to be clear why why you're doing this in the first place. What's the motivation as a leader of the whole organization, why you want to do this, and what will be the high level objectives of doing so.
The important thing here is that the organization shall not pay much, let's say, shall not put much effort and wasting time on this first step. As we discussed, this is already, there's tons of examples. We don't believe that there's any single entity, person, or whatever that will not going to benefit from AI. So 100%, whatever you're doing, there will be a use case for you that you will benefit for AI, and this will become on later steps. So you don't have to waste time thinking what would be the outcome actually, etc. You have just to have the high level vision. So where you have to pay attention is actually the second step, which is in order to be able to take the right decision, you have to have the capabilities to take decision. Because AI can impact everything. You need, as the cloud center of excellence, you'll need to have AI center of excellence. So that's why it's really important for each next step. So after you have the commitment, like the team who is managing and leading the direction of organization, you have to create the team who you can trust and start actually doing anything in that direction, adopting and integrating AI in your organization. So this step is crucial, and that's why we put it as a separate, clearly said how important it is. So how to form the AI COE is not different comparing to how to form the other, let's say, the cloud center of excellence. As Nikki mentioned, there's
not only cloud, any COE,
any COE,
automation, data science, whatever,
which have to include people from with different expertise, with different connection in an organization. There's no difference. As Nikki mentioned, however, there's difference in large and in small organization, because keep in mind that in some organization, the COE can be dedicated, and this is more suitable for large organizations. But for small organization, this could be logical. So if you don't have the opportunity, as Nikki mentioned, to invest a lot of, because having these people, and because you have to really grab the best people in your organization, this huge investment, and they will be impacting your business, because the units that these people have been working as this, again, in order this to be successful, they have to be key people. It's very hard to get the key people from the different units. So in large organization, this is extremely beneficial. But for small organization, it's better to think about logical team. Sometimes, even for small organization, for example, if we're talking for 10, 20 people organization, actually the first folks, the leadership could be the AI COE. This could be the guys which are driving the whole adoption, etc. So this could be this would be the first step. Again, it's really as the same as the other COEs. The most important thing is that the people which are in this COE, they have to be recognized in the company, and the company have to like working with them. This is the first step. We don't care at all how good they are, but if the others like to work with you, you have much bigger chances of success, because this is, as we said, it's much more disruptive technology comparing to the others. People have much, it's everywhere. It's in the news, and everybody's saying, we'll lose our job. So it's really the soft element here. It's much more important, because these guys would go to each unit, they'll communicate a lot. So these guys should be.
The human element and soft skills would also crucial for any member of the COE.
It's very crucial. It's much more crucial than comparing with the other COEs, because the impact and actually the level of impact.
One thing that I want to highlight for the structure of the COE is there's definitely a lot of emphasis that needs to be put on the innovation and R&D part of the COE compared to, let's say, the cloud side, because with all of the changes that are happening, we need people who need to be fully aware and align the strategy constantly. It's a moving target. At least for now. In the next few years, I would imagine this will be the case.
It's always would be the moving target.
But much more difficult to manage compared to the cloud, where we don't have so many changes.
It's changing so rapidly.
So innovation teams within the COE would be crucial to the success of the COE.
I would say mindset
even the mindset,
sure. People in this should be really open-minded people. I mean, it should be people that are that are reading. I mean, of course, it should be a mix. But again, open-minded people that really
who want to be there.
Who want to be there? Exactly. That's the important part. So, what would be the initial focus of these guys?
I would say that the initial focus would be to kind of figure out what I wouldn't say use cases, but what would be the best way to get
the first steps.
The first steps in it's difficult to summarize it, because each organization has a different purpose and business, and AI is so disruptive in each of these. But looking at the when you round up your kind of structure and you have your people, looking at the initial kind of cases that come from leadership, leadership has identified what will be some of the business objectives, and you want to align this with the COE goals, right?
And this would be part of their responsibility, Later they will, as we said, they will go to communicate with different units. These guys would be from different units. We are not talking about only technical guys. We're talking for people from the actual core business. It's absolutely crucial, I would say. Even the most powerful people, if I can say, of course, it's good to be the flat structure. But let's say you really want to put your best people from the core business, because technical folks, more technical folks, and you also will need the technical folks for all of this stuff. In the majority of the time, they don't see the big picture, and so that's why same as cloud adoption, they are much more successful when they drove by business people comparing to the only technical people, because they have different goals, they see different goals. But that's why it's important, these guys, to be very, very open-minded, and people shall like working with them.
And even though you probably figured you got the best people that you can get from the organization, you have to build on top of their skills. So thinking about reskilling initially, what are we missing at the current landscape of AI to make these projects successful? What kind of information do we need to send them on trainings? Do we need to get our vendors to train them? Do we need to figure out,
get external consultants?
yeah, do we need to bring in external consultancy? Because we don't do, at the end of the day, you probably laugh, but I think you have to put a clock somewhere. You have to time box everything and say, we need to do this in this time frame. What will it take for us to do this in this time frame? You don't want to extend the rollout of each step, because there are always going to be issues. But the CUE, what it brings is this concentrated effort to complete something.
And as Nikki mentioned, this would be part of, we'll have separate anti-pattern section for each of these. And actually, the time in all of these, it's the most expensive thing, let's say.
Yes.
So
time you don't have.
You don't have time. You already missed a lot. Let's say that way. So
you're already behind before you start.
Yeah,
essentially.
Of course, you can be in different stages, and this can help, as we mentioned earlier, what we are doing, fixing wrong cloud adoption to do it right. So you may be in the, let's say, in the last adopt and scale stage, but missing, let's say, 3 or 4 stages before, and it's like Wild West, as we said, with hundreds of different AI products, which it's become very expensive and hard to maintain, but this can be fixed. So, yeah.
And one last thing about the CUE. You really have to distract yourself from everything that's happening on the AI space, because it can consume over your time. You really want to be, once you have the structure and you figure out your focus, maybe you just focus on the tasks themselves rather than thinking about everything that's happening in the AI space, because it can consume all of your time pretty much.
We'll go deeper in details with this. Absolutely true. But it's also really important to follow the latest trends, to make sure that you're not wasting time. And
that's why you need the innovation.
That's why we will talk more, but we have this idea of having streams inside the CUE. So there should be people which also catching up with the latest technologies and evaluating the efforts needed. But as Nikki said, it's hard for everybody nowadays to be able to see what's matter and what's important and to do this evaluation. Quick tip, this can be, of course, the AI can help with this. So we'll show this in later stages. As you see here, the next step is AI adoption strategy, but as you see the boxes below, especially the first box, we have AI competency and culture development. And as we mentioned, it's really, really important this to be the very first task.
You probably need to stretch this all the way to the left.
Yeah. By the way, this may be a good suggestion. Actually, we had this discussion, if you remember, is that AI, that the leadership can bring some high-level awareness. They bring the high-level awareness, but AI COE can design, let's say, full-fledged training plan and upskilling plan for the organization. But in this case, you really have to think about 2 major things: how I can bring the right training, and how I can bring to encourage my people to use AI. This could, of course, there's no different as the cloud in this. Just the bet is bigger, of course, and that's why it's important to start earlier. And you have to encourage them to use it. You have to provide them trainings, easy training. You can put this part of their goals, and it's really important to provide them access to these technologies. If, for example, if you're fine with using public let's say public models, like public models, I mean external models, not closed models, not open source models that you can run on your place. It's very easy. You just go to some of the plans of OpenAI. They will not going to train your data. This would be well worth investment. Of course, you can define which team will you can this will go in details for this. There will be, let's say, waves. First wave, it could be this team, this team, this team, based on which team will benefit most. But as early as possible, you have to bring the capabilities to your people, because again, in later stages, when the guys, which one of their main work would be to talk with these people, so we have to have this small amount of time between the stage of start talking with these people, to give them some time to understand what AI can do and how it can impact, to already to have this curiosity. Because in the previous adoption, in the cloud adoption, for example, you're evaluating the application, how this can impact the people, but it's really what we saw. It's this part of focusing and outlining the importance of people, of business people, understanding what AI can do. Of course, business people, core business people is the most important here to understand, but also the administration, the other people, because the AI will go everywhere. This would be part of the plan section where you actually will evaluate the pros and cons. But you can, if you build this culture, if you build this AI awareness, you can have, as Nikki mentioned earlier, instead people of going and buying external solutions, they will come to you, because they know, oh, these central guys, they know what they're doing. They know what AI can do for us. So instead of going to external, let's say, market, you can go. Of course, it's build with buy. This always, but you will go to these guys. They will guide you. They will help you, and you will know that they exist, and you already know some good use cases. So yeah, this is huge AI COE establishment, early establishment, and AI competency and culture development.
It's key, yeah.
It's key, especially in large organization. It's absolutely key. In small organization, it's easier. Again, this can be combined just in the first step. Everything. So leadership could be ICOE. They can provide training. They can onboard others. That's it.
And you want to bring the visibility into the organization, because we've seen so many emails. We are working in Fortune 500 companies, and we are seeing how these emails, I mean, if you just send an email, people may not even see it. People generally don't read the stuff. So, but being able to infiltrate even the most distant people will have a big effect on the adoption itself, because a lot of the folks, I mean, year and a half after kind of the explosion of LLMs and generative AI in general, people still don't recognize the value. They don't particularly see what this can be helpful with. So this is really one of the sole reasons why you would have the COE in existence. You have to prove the value, and this is where the expected outcomes and business objectives come into play for the strategy.
Yeah. But just before that, again, to put more attention to this, in nowadays it's much easier, because the cloud was not in the news when we adopt the cloud, but every person have been trying at least the free GPT, and a lot of people already using the AI. They already know what are a what. I hope that they're a what, let's say, but it's much easier. People are much more convenient. This is much closer to them comparing with the other transformation that we had in the past. So, as Nikki mentioned, moving to the AI adoption strategy, this is, if we can say, one, you have the vision in first step. You have the high level, what you would like to achieve. Then you are forming the team, and actually what in this step will happen is actually together with the team, you would be able to refine what was your initial vision. So you'll be able to put a little bit more details in your desired outcomes and in your objectives. You can put some, you can specify much more focused KPIs, because this time you have very solid team that can help you to do that have full view of the entire organization and the different perspective of the organization. So pretty similar to the other cloud adoption, just this time we believe that you'll be much more efficient and you'll be able to much more efficient.
I think overall, this is probably one of the most difficult things to do in the whole framework. Even this is a work in progress for us to define the best guidelines to form your strategy, because at the end of the day, AI is a moving target, the way it develops. So creating a strategy that will work years to come, it will be very difficult. Even now, when you're forming your strategy for adoption, you have to make decisions that have to be, forward thinking, and you don't make decisions now that will be irrelevant in 6 months time.
Yeah.
And also the other part that's very hard to do is defining the business value. So any action that you take as a COE, let's say we want to put a ChatGPT type of interface for the whole org to use, how can you show the value from it clearly from a monetary perspective, how much this would actually save from the budget? This is not very easy to define right now, because once you put a piece of software like this up front and people start using it, you have to figure out what metrics are you going to get from this. How are you going to put this as part of the kind of the planning? This is where I see where we're going to be working a lot with Nikki to prove the value. I think the framework itself will be the most beneficial. One of the key points that's going to be most beneficial. How do you show the value of AI clearly from a financial perspective?
And this was,
is it based on increments? Are you saying, okay, we're going to put this in the hands of people, they're going to use it for their daily work, this will save each person 5 minutes of their time each day, and when you kind of round it up, will this be kind of the way you're justifying the expense of running AI? Or it be based on, okay, we have this big project where we're going to replace this piece of software that we needed to have 10 people to run, and now we're completely replacing with it AI. These sort of strategy decisions will make your adoption more clear, because at the end of the day, when the hype is over, leadership will seek these results. They have to answer before their, investors and others.
Yeah.
So this is a very key part. And, our experience with this will greatly, hopefully, will make the adoption framework the most kind of usable.
Yeah. This was actually pretty, I would say, as you said, it was easier to manage with the cloud adoption, because you can measure some kind of savings. You can measure
your cost management, and
in the cost management you can save. You can still measure how fast you become. You can measure that maybe you become a global company. The major cloud benefit. You become transparent. You see what you're using, what not. Here it's a bit harder, and it's really here. You again, we see the having a team helping you to build this, it would be much easier for you, because okay, these guys may not be financial expert, but as we said, we have people from business, so they should have some good understanding of what finance means.
So how many hours they spend.
Exactly, and they know the core business, how many hours spent. So again, it's important to have these clear objectives, as Nikki mentioned, measurables, KPIs. But it's also important to have some kind of balance. I mean, again, remember the quote that Nikki put it at the beginning. It's important to see the clock and to not wasting time in specific direction and missing the whole point. So, yeah. Of course, once you have the strategy in the team, you, as the cloud adoption frameworks, you have to plan how to execute it. And in order to plan it, you have to have the data. You have to have the to understand where you should focus, and this means start with gathering the use cases. This would be this is very broad topic, and we'll go in a lot of details in our upcoming session covering the planning phase. But I guess you already notice how challenging it is to identify which use case would be most beneficial, because usually the most beneficial are more complex, and for more complex they require the most effort. But in this fast changing let's say journey, you really have to have good evaluation mechanism which also incorporate this fast change. Is it the right time to put this huge amount of effort? Remember Sora, 800 millions cancelled. You know, it's yeah, I prefer to wait 2 months. Yeah, and not wasting 800 millions, right? Let's say not, it was few years development of this center. So we've been working with Nikki to develop evaluation mechanism. Let's say something like use case matrix, where you actually put this important part in place. The other things, you know, the complexity, effort needed, implementation time, the impact of the organization, these things are clear. But it's really important to have this, let's say, this piece of is it the right time, and what is the potential of the actual technology to solve the specific problem. Again, most important part here, AI COE team, empowered by the leadership, having the awareness of the people, going on the field, talking with the people, understanding more about the use cases, understanding more about what would be the impact, what could be changed, evaluating these use cases. This is mainly important for this part. The other thing is, of course, you have the use cases, but you also have to know your company data. You have to understand where it's stored, what kind of format is, how usable is, etc., etc. And because actually, you can't. I mean, you can integrate AI without data, but it's almost meaningless. I mean, it's really important to provide your company data to the AI in order to start doing real things, let's say that way.
And really, for data-driven companies, this is they can extract the maximum value from AI. If at the end of the day, this is what it excels at. I mean, AI can be actionable, obviously. It can do a lot of stuff on its own at this point. It can, you know, to an extent, replace some of the, you know, initiatives where we have automations in place. But right now, what you can kickstart as an AI initiative is around data.
Sorry for laughing, but yesterday we had conversation with, let's say, a friend, and we were discussing for some things that can be solved with just simple automation, and this is just embarrassing to put it for the AI. I mean, it's too simple to involve AI for this stuff. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, and really also it's in this phase, it's important to start planning your operating model. By operating model, we believe it's based on the part which we didn't touch, AI governance, let's say some regulatory compliance, you may like to use open source models for one, let's say for specific use cases or for specific data type, most importantly. And you might like to use closed source, or most cases you're going to, if you want to be the most efficient, you shall be using hybrid model. On top of this, there will be separate articles we already discussed with Nikki, but people are always like to use GPT-4. I want access to GPT-4, but what are you going to use it? I'm going to use it for translation. But it's important to understand that there is a model suitable for specific task. You don't have to waste and throwing money of the really expensive models for simple tasks, for tasks that can be solved for the smaller models. And we see more and more using the agentic frameworks that the speed is crucial. So again, we're going back to the comparing the platform of agents, which are, let's say, 5-10 agents, which are using less capable models, but let's say multiple times faster. They provide much better result comparing with the more capable models, which is again more expensive and slow. So it's really important to have this balance, to have the right model. And in this time, it's a good time to plan for the specific use case, which models would be more suitable. Again, if I'm using proprietary data, high sensitive data, level 7 data, or whatever, I may like to start using first some of the to buy some hardware. How you're going to do it, it would be in the next step. But I would like to run it locally. I would like to run some models which are only I have access. I have the full control. For the others, I might like to use it to use open source. I might like to use more capable for this task or less capable for the other task. But again, it's this is really important decision. Also,
I wanted to add here that one thing that is really beneficial, first of all, the COE has to be agnostic to vendors. I mean, if it wants to be successful, it really has to distract itself from really the things that will drive your decisions is one and most importantly, time. How can we leverage our time the best? How can we provision this technology so it will allow people to use it in the most, the shortest time possible? Because time, in this case equals money. Cost is also another factor. Do we want to pay for a hosted model that, let's say, Microsoft runs or Amazon runs versus us having to build out our capability in order to offer local models? Where do we draw the line? Where do we things match? Some companies prefer to spend money up front so they can allow their people to use the technology really, in an express kind of way. But at the same time, what's different from probably the cloud here? Things are very compatible with each other. One day you will build out your solution and say, okay, I'm using GPT 3.5 for my solution. The next day, since most of the models have, and the APIs have been developed in a very sort of compatible way, you can switch off and use another model because it makes more sense to you now. Or you found out that 3.5 not fine-tuned is not offering the things that you need to complete the stuff that you need to do in time. So I think the COE, maybe something that we forgot to mention, has to be really decisive in its actions. Let's say, okay, I'm not going down this rabbit hole anymore. I'm not waiting for this capability to develop.
Exactly.
I'm making the changes now. I'm making the switch now because we don't want to waste time. We want to be sure that we are very agile in the way we're thinking. And this is not the mindset of most architects nowadays. We really have to have a clear pathway, 3 years time, and we want to work on this very slowly so we can figure out all of the problems that may arise.
Yeah.
I think this way of thinking in the COE will not work with AI.
That's why we introduced this
Yeah.
this additional point in the evaluation matrix, where you have to make the right decision based on the potential of the technologies to solving stuff and not wasting time and become obsolete and got technology which can resolve your thing. Same with the models. It's absolutely same with the models. The models are just the, let's say, endpoints that you consume. You don't care what you care of their capabilities, their speed.
And you shouldn't be afraid of changing your
Yes.
Direction in any time.
Yeah, they evolve. Today I received email from Microsoft Azure OpenAI that the new API, I have to update my endpoint. This will happen, let's say, faster and faster and faster. One good thing in this page is what we saw. Implementing, Nikki brought a good point, very good point about that the people should be non-biased because open source world can provide very valuable and matured, let's say, AI services, and they also lower the barrier of adoption. So the point that I'm going to is that you can have, as Nikki mentioned, put the initial investment. Let's say you can buy some GPUs, some NVIDIA GPUs in your data center, where you can allow people to play with them to build your capabilities. But also what we actually think is that you can follow the distributed model. Because even that we are Microsoft guys, I can assure that I spend, for example, more time on playing with, let's say, AutoGen and open source models, Ollama, YTLM, and whatever you came to your mind, much more than Azure OpenAI. So the thing is that with these tools, you can pretty easily leverage to the your investment that you already made. The models become, there is a good amount of models that are very effective. So the models become more effective as well, not only us as people using the models, but you can receive small model which can be run on your own laptop. So instead of organization paying a lot of money and centralize everything, they can follow some kind of hybrid approach. They can provide central services, but let's say they can provide your own Copilot, small Copilot, or your team Copilot that can be run on your laptop. We'll go in much more details in the next.
You don't have to have a strategy like everybody in the org needs to use local models. You can have a combination of people using Copilot, other applications using Azure OpenAI because of governance and privacy perspective.
You have to have the policy. That's the important thing. For this kind of data, you have to use this model. For other kind of data, for this kind of data, you have to use our models that we can provide. For the other kind of data, you can use your subscription that we already paid, or these endpoints, which are, let's say, from OpenAI or Anthropic or whatever. So a lot high level, but a lot to say. And we just touched before going to the last stage. We just touched the AI governance, but as Nikki mentioned multiple times, this part is the majority of this part is moving pretty fast. It's very new. It's really, really new about the things regarding the responsible AI, ethical AI. But having, as a starting point, we put it at the beginning because when we're talking about security, it's always easy to see what kind of compliance standards our organization have to comply with. So having the regulatory compliance, starting with the regulatory compliance and building the policies on top of it, it's a great starting point. So that's why it's one of the early stages, because this will help you again to not become Wild West.
And also in the last year, a lot of new tools have shown that.
That help about this. You have a lot of experience with these tools in Azure, especially in the Azure AI suite. So
content safety,
Yeah.
just specific Azure services that provide this, but also third-party products that are looking into not only from the governance, but the security perspective,
Yeah.
how safe are AI models to use. There's so many industries that are just forming around AI.
Yeah,
that will create a lot of new products that people will use. That's why it's exciting, right?
It's still developing, and as we said, there would be a lot of new changes. So for the moment, we would say it would be a very good starting point, as we mentioned, regulatory compliance and building the policies on top of it. Last but not least, of course, one, you have this maturity. One, you have the actually we missed the prepared part.
Yeah, we need to prepare.
So we jumped. We really looking to the clock and also want to move pretty fast. But okay, so we have the plan, but now we have to prepare actually let's say the platform, the resources, how we're going to build everything needed in order to execute our plan, right? So here we're talking about building this centralized AI platform where we can provide all of these services. We can have this could be a chatbot, it could be some kind of application, it could be different chatbots for the different teams. Of course, it could be, let's say, multiple use cases. So it's really important to identify let's say the base functionality of this platform. So because in here we will build some kind of MVP of the platform. So we already have the we already have the use cases. We know which use case will drive forward because we'll have some kind of pilot project identified on the previous stage, and I'm sorry that we missed them as well. But having after that,
we're gonna have an opportunity to talk about each of these in the next
session, much more details. Yeah, but from the planning phase, we already have the first of all. Which use cases we will start with. So based on these use cases, in the preparation phase, we have to build similarly to the landing zone. We have to build our AI platform. And in AI, because we know what we need to build, what are the requirements for these use cases, we already know how we're going to implement and operate with AI. So we know that we're going to use closed and open source models. We know for this case, you need this. We know hybrid approach, centralized approach, etc. We know what are the base functionalities of the most important functionalities of this central AI platform in order to build the MVP of this platform. We'll identify the effort needed, what kind of resources we're going to need, and we'll build it.
One thing that I want to note, kind of experience from the field, is you have to. There's a human element to the platform. People, I think, adopt AI once you kind of give it a name. So a lot of the companies, what they're doing, they build the platform, but they make it so people understand that this is where they need to go to in order to use AI. So, leadership usually once this is kind of completed or it's in the MVP state, they will give it a name, and they will just kind of give it back to the organization. So going forward, people here, you can refer to AI by going to this platform. So people can associate with AI something within their org. And that makes the adoption a bit easier because they know, okay, I'm going to use AI going to that portal.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good way to kind of convince people in their heads or associate AI with something rather than just being, something just obscure. AI is by itself doesn't mean anything, right? To people.
Yep. But that's why it's the platform the MVP of the platform should be focused on the initial use cases and
absolutely,
to be able to address them. But we'll talk a lot about the platform,
Yeah.
because the platform should be scalable, should be extendable, as Nikki mentioned. It should not be dependent to what kind of model
Yeah.
you're using. This should be something
also have-
disposable, let's say that way.
We're also
But
working on something that we can offer as a
Yeah, stay tuned. It would be most probably end of this month, beginning of next. Yeah, and of course, we're talking about data. So this is another huge topic. So you have to really build your your data foundation, as we discussed previously. In the previous step, you know where's your data is, what kind of format is, in order to be able to consume it. Nikki can tell you what about the prepare this data, etc. Make it consumable, let's say, in order to get efficient results.
It's a lie when they tell you can just take your data and put it to it.
You can, but
you can, but
and you get some results.
You get results, but at the end of the day, you're looking to extract the maximum value in the least time, right? So
yeah, balance.
It's always a balance.
Yeah,
yes, of course.
Yeah,
but it's important. This part is important. I think it should be done in parallel. I think although we have it in the plan and it's in the preparation phase, I think once you get the kind of the go ahead and you form the COE, you should be already looking into your data, if you ask me, because this is such a prolonged process that will take so much time. You want to do some of the tasks in parallel. But yes, data preparation, finding your data is something that you'll be surprised how difficult it is to actually find and discover the data in your organization as a COE. You have to have kind of 360 visibility into where the data is, where is it located, can you use it with AI, what are the obstacles of using it with AI, who do you need to talk to get it prepared, do you have the necessary manpower and experts to do so?
Yeah.
So all of these questions will be part of the kind of the preparation phase.
Yeah, and actually, this we also have the implementation option. Is the time is the actual task where you have to detail what you're going to need, aligned with what you agree in the operation model. So, what kind of infrastructure, how you manage, how you're going to deploy it, small infrastructure, large infrastructure, pipelines, all of this part. Actually, the usual stuff regarding the actual resources that you're going to use, how you manage it, how to make it secure, etc., etc. And last but not least, once you have your platform, you have your use cases, you have the maturity, you have the awareness, people are already, let's say, to one extent or the other, there's some successful pilot project, they already using the AI. The platform is become a bit, a bit more matured. You can adopt at scale. So you have already success stories, which of course you have to spread to the companies, which will be part of this culture development and AI first, let's say, mindset. So really at this stage, you start integrating not only your applications, but you also start thinking about your processes, how they could be optimized in general workflows, as Nikki mentioned, the people, the human aspect is becoming critical here. So really, we're not focusing only on the applications.
Yeah, you want to celebrate your results as well.
Yeah.
Kind of make public what you have done successfully. I mean, this convinces people. Once you see the results, get the use cases from pilots, get kind of the happy people up front, state what has been meaningful to do.
This will really help for the last stage. So that's why it's important. Okay, I think it was a good start. Please, let's give you some time for questions. Let's share in the chat. I guess there could be some questions. So please raise your hand, and yeah, I can give you, or you can drop. I see there's something in the chat. Okay.
I mean, this will
Alright.
be a series of
Yeah.
things, you know, we're developing the framework. It will be, you know, we'll work on it based on our experience, what we
Yeah.
see in the field. We are heavily investing in AI from, you know, from a time perspective.
Yeah.
We wanna give back. I think that we want to create something that will be useful to other people. You know, we don't want to repeat the mistakes from other, you know, from the cloud adoption frameworks. And
Yeah. That's why we mentioned that there will be anti-pattern session at the end, which will cover each of the steps. This session is recorded, so it will be uploaded in our YouTube channel. Maybe we'll share it in LinkedIn as well. So please, feedback is critical for us. Let us know anything that you would like to add, any, let's say, step that you believe could change the order, or you would like to understand more, or you would like to, you have troubles with it. Yeah, we'll be happy to help.
Yeah.
And
we'll cut short the news section going forward, and we'll
Yeah.
focus on this because I think it's gonna bring more value to people.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for your time, and see you in the next sessions.
Bye.